Welcome to this short video about photosynthesis in section 3.2 of the AS Marine syllabus. Again, these are only short review videos, and if you really want to know this stuff, you really ought to read the book, but by now you should know. I'm going to talk a little bit more about photosynthesis because as our means for primary production, this is the main one. Yes, chemosynthesis is also important, but this is where the main action happens. And this formula here is pretty much the most important one in biology and thereby in life. And it simply states that algae and plants who do photosynthesis are able to take 6 CO2 and 6 water if they have light available, and then turn that into the thing they need, glucoses, which then can be used to form other things, celluloses, starch, proteins, and a byproduct here, oxygen, which is a pretty nice byproduct because it makes lives possible for the rest of us. This formula here, if there's any one formula you'll ever want to remember from biology, it's this one. It's really, really cool and it's important. So this one here is the one that creates all the carbon that the rest of the food chain needs, and it creates all the oxygen that all the other animals need. So it's pretty important. And photosynthesis depends on 4 factors: temperature, light, CO2 and nutrients. And now I'm going to go over each of them in a little more detail. Temperature. Kinetic theory says that the more particles move about, the more quicker the chemical reactions will be. So at a very low temperature, enzyme reactions work slowly. So if the water temperature is around freezing, we would expect photosynthesis to work slower than it would be like at 20 degrees. So in general, an increase in temperature will give us an increase in photosynthesis. The second is CO2. We need CO2 in the reaction because this is where the carbon comes from. Unfortunately, we are not really missing CO2 anywhere in the ocean, since we humans are increasing the amount of CO2 quite drastically by burning fossil fuels. So this will rarely be a limiting factor. Then we need light. And when we get to marine science, light really becomes an important limiting factor. And we need nutrients. Nutrients are the other things we need beside the light, the CO2 in the water. That could be magnesium, that could be iron, that could be nitrogen for building protein. It's all the other stuff that's needed to keep the plants, the algae growing. Now, in Denmark, for example, here, this one here will vary a lot with the seasons. So will this one. So in Denmark here in November, both temperature and light will go down, which means photosynthesis will go down. When it then becomes spring, it becomes warmer, it becomes more sunlight, photosynthesis will go up. But there's one thing that is important to remember. Temperature, light, CO2, nutrient, which if one of them is really low, photosynthesis will fall to that level. It is the lowest common it's the lowest common factor who decides how quick our photosynthesis will go. And in the ocean, it's usually light or nutrients which end up being the one that decides how fast our primary production will be. So here I draw a very bad drawing of the ocean. We have the upper surface here, then we have the thermocline, this is during summer, and then we have the deep dark water. In the top here we have the photic zone, which is where light penetrates, and that can be 30, 50, maybe 100 meters. But much deeper than that, the photons will scatter, the light will be absorbed, and it will get darker. So up here we have a lot of light. We also have water, and we have a high temperature. So we have three factors needed for photosynthesis. The one that's missing are the nutrients. Because usually in the open ocean we'll find the nutrients down in the deep dark water. Because as things die, they fall to the bottom as marine snow. While any nutrients who are up here will quite quickly be used by the algae, and then the amount of nutrients will become the limiting factor. The fact that we have a thermocline here, which means the warm water is up here, the cold water is up here, also will increase the problem. The stronger the thermocline, the less mixing we have of the water here and here, and the fewer nutrients can go from the dark zone up to the light zone. So, unless we have some other factors, it could be runoff, it could be upwelling, stuff we'll talk about later, nutrients will usually be the limiting factor for our primary production in the open ocean. Thank you.